Okay, so we are 1 minute over. Let's go ahead and get started today. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Hey, thanks a lot. Appreciate it. And thanks everyone for joining today on the live stream or checking us out later on demand. I appreciate you coming in to learn a little bit more about Sumo Logic and some of the integrations that we've been building with ServiceNow with our partnership. So today I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about modern IT and SecOps workflows. Again, we've got a handful of panelists today that have hopped on and are going to be talking through some of the products and integrations that they've developed with the platform. So let's just do some quick intros real quick. Why don't we go from top to bottom here? Rishi, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure, thanks, Drew. Hey everyone, my name is Rishi Divte. I'm the Group Product Manager at Sumo Logic, responsible for Sumo Logic solutions, apps, and partner integrations. I'll pass it to Steve.
Yeah, thanks, Rishi. So Steve Forsyth, I'm a product manager as well here at Sumo in the security business unit, and I focus a lot on our integrations with partners like ServiceNow.
Yeah, Angad, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. My name is Angad. I am a principal product manager at Sumo Logic, and I manage the alerting dashboard areas of the product and some of the observability offerings.
Great, thanks. And this is Drew Horn, a technical director here at Sumo Logic, focusing on all of our technology partner alliances. So before we jump into the integrations that these teams have been hard at work on, I just wanted to provide a little bit of context on Sumo Logic itself for those of you that are new. So just going to hop through a couple slides here and then hand it over to the team to kind of go through some of the integrations. So Sumo Logic, right, we're the leading continuous intelligence platform. We're a machine data, cloud native analytics platform able to ingest any type of machine data, logs, metrics, events, traces. And we make all of that data available to our 2,000 plus customers, right? We're a scalable, again, SaaS cloud native platform. We have over 30 million searches being performed daily on our platform, which maps to over 100 petabytes. I don't even know how many zeros that is, but 100 petabytes of data analyzed daily, and over 500 trillion records queried daily. On the value side of things, right, we support any type of deployment for an organization. So if you're deployed multi-cloud, if you're hybrid cloud, or if you're completely on premises, doesn't matter, right? We can ingest data directly from cloud. We can ingest data directly from a data center. We're a single platform serving multiple use cases. I'm going to provide an overview of those here in a few minutes. And then, just given our scalable platform, right, and our data tiering, we have an economical model for you to be able to map, data that you're sending into Sumo Logic to different tiers. And then we have, again, nothing you need to deploy, on-prem to get up and running. So it's a really fast time to value. You can go grab a trial, get up and running in 5 minutes and get data streaming into our platform. And then we've been hard at work over the past couple of years on our security attestations. As a SaaS service, that's really important for us. And, things like PCI, SOC 2, HIPAA, FedRAMP, right? These are some of the certifications that we've acquired over the past couple of years. So let's talk a little bit about some of the high-level use cases for our platform. I've got 4 listed out here down at the bottom. So the first one, operational intelligence. We have a full stack observability platform that organizations can send their logs, metrics, traces, and events directly to the platform, where they're then collected and centralized. You can then use our powerful search query language, Sumo query language, to parse logs, aggregate logs, visualize metrics in our dashboards. We have over 200 integrations and apps available in our catalog that you can install for free. It's just out-of-the-box content to help get you up and running. And then any of the data in our platform can be alerted on. So you can set up custom monitors to keep an eye on different conditions in the platform for data or metrics or events that are occurring. You can alert on those, and Angad's going to talk specifically about what we've been doing lately with respect to ServiceNow for that. And then finally, prediction and optimization. So we have an interesting global intelligence product. Our machine data analytics team and our AI team has put together some apps that are available in our catalog that look at the entire population of Sumo Logic customers. So makes it really easy for you to, given a particular use case, take a look at how you're performing against the entire population of Sumo Logic customers to identify outliers or anomalous activity that you may not otherwise be able to detect when looking at your own data sets. So looking at the two use cases here in the middle, security intelligence, we're going to be talking about that one a little bit more in depth today, just given the integrations that we've developed. And then finally, business intelligence. Again, we have tons of apps in our catalog tied to business related data. So it's another common use case that you can leverage our platform for. So jumping into our security intelligence solutions, these are the three I kind of wanted to highlight today. Over here on the left, given that we're a log management platform, right, audit and compliance has been something that we've had available for years on our continuous intelligence platform. All of the data is secured in our backend, and we have all of the security certifications and attestations I've mentioned earlier. Flexible economic licensing model, right? Again, you can map data to different data tiers with different pricing based off of your use cases, so really flexible there. Our security monitoring and analytics platform, this is where you can send any of your security data into our platform. You can correlate that data. You can build dashboards, aggregations, create alerts, and you can also map this data against our built-in threat intelligence feeds. So any IP addresses, emails, domains, or any other types of entities like that are being sent into our platform can be automatically mapped against potential indicators of compromise from our built-in CrowdStrike threat intelligence feed. Moving a little bit further down over to the right, teams that have more of a formal SOC or building out a security operations center take advantage of our enterprise Cloud SIEM. This product, which Steve is going to talk a little bit about how we've integrated with the security intelligent response platform, is our enterprise platform where you can take all of the data from our security monitoring and analytics solution and normalize that to a single common schema. So we have a ton of out-of-the-box content that automatically maps data that can be routed to Cloud SIEM from our security analytics platform with just a click. And then our content team has built a bunch of rules that will then analyze this normalized data, do some automatic correlation and trigger what we call insights in this platform. So insights are actually a collection of security events. And the goal there is we take all of this normalized data, we apply rules to that data, that'll generate signals. Those signals are then clustered together based off of common entities like an email or an IP address or a domain. And then when we feel that we've seen a significant number of related security events, we'll cluster all of those together into an insight and make that available to the SOC team. And the goal there is noise filtration, right? Reducing noise and speeding up the alert triage process. And then finally, we have an open platform that makes it easy to plug in automation and orchestration workflows, which again, I'm going to have Steve talk a little bit about here in a few minutes. So jumping into our partnership with ServiceNow. The goal we've been focusing on this year with ServiceNow is to provide our single unified observability and security platform and make that available to the entire suite of ServiceNow products that you see up here on the screen. So breaking down some of these silos and having a single analytics platform that you can tap into, whether you're leveraging the ITSM module, ITOM, security incident response, or CMDB. So there's three integrations that I want to have the team talk through today. The first one, we're going to have Anga take a look and walk us through our ITSM and ITOM integration. We have some new native event and incident management webhooks with auto resolution support. So we'll go through that. And then we're going to have Steve talk about the deep integration that we have with SIR and how we're synchronizing insights that are created in our Cloud SIEM with SIR. And then finally, we're going to have Rishi talk a little bit about our participation in the service graph. So we built a new graph connector that we've launched into the ServiceNow store, and that's feeding in that's feeding in data from our machine data analytics platform directly into CMDB for enrichment. So enough for me. I want to hand it over to some of the product folks. So Angad, why don't you take it away and take us a little bit through the ServiceNow connections.
Sounds good. So yeah, let's move on to the next slide. So I think Drew already mentioned this a little bit. So once you have data flowing into Sumo, you can create alerts within Sumo to get notified of events happening. For example, if you log, you can look at errors, exceptions, and then create incidents in ServiceNow in response to those types of alerts. Similarly, you can do it via metrics. If you're looking at CPU utilization, memory utilization metrics, you can leverage our connection that we have created here to send alerts over to ServiceNow. And we do support two different things, two different integrations with ServiceNow. The first one is with the events management system within ServiceNow, and the second one is with the incident management system within ServiceNow. So in response to alerts created in Sumo, you can generate either events or incidents within ServiceNow. And the main reason why we built this integration, we had a legacy integration even before that, but the main motivations for building this net new integration were threefold. We essentially wanted to allow customization of the payloads that are sent to ServiceNow. So in the notification that goes out or the incident or an event that gets generated in ServiceNow, users wanted more flexibility in what goes in, what fields are there, what values get populated. And we do allow that with this new integration. The second one is this auto resolution of alerts, which essentially means that once Sumo detects that the condition is no longer prevalent, the error condition or your CPU or memory utilization condition has subsided and it's back to a normal, it can re-trigger ServiceNow and let them know that this issue is no longer there. So you don't have to manually go and resolve these open incidents. Sumo can do that using this new mechanism, which is this auto resolution of alerts. So this is supported with this new integrations. And lastly, our legacy ServiceNow connection did not support our new alerting framework, which is called the monitors, right? It has a bunch of new improvements over our old legacy alerting capability. And we wanted to basically extend support, extend that integration to our new alerting framework and allow a deeper integration with ServiceNow to leverage all the goodness of Sumo and ServiceNow using our alerting methods. So we updated this webhook connection to also support that, right? Let's move on. I have a very quick demo to showcase how this sort of functionality works in Sumo. We have a link to the documentation here down below, which you can use to create your own connections in Sumo. So here you can go. So I've gone to the monitoring tab within Sumo. You go into the connections, and here you will see a new type of connection called ServiceNow connection. You specify basic parameters like the name and stuff. You have to specify the URL for your ServiceNow instance. In this case, there's a standard URL that you can copy from the documentation and provide your ServiceNow instance information, provide basic authentication information, and you should be all set, right? There already is a default payload that contains rich information for a notification. You can leverage it, or you can choose to customize it. Now, in this case, you can see that we have a monitor. I'm creating a new monitor in Sumo that's alerting on error condition. And I've chosen the ServiceNow integration that I just created, right? To get notified or get an incident within ServiceNow once an alert gets generated in Sumo. Right, so we're creating this monitor. The monitor is now created. I updated, fast forwarded, it went into a critical phase where that error condition was when it happened. And you can see that, an incident got created within ServiceNow right after that happened in Sumo. right? So this was a very quick sort of a demo to showcase how this sort of functionality worked. It, as you could see, it was fairly easy to set it up within Sumo, right? That's it. If you have any other questions, I'm willing to take it towards the end of this call. With that, Drew, I'll hand it back to you.
Great. Thanks, Angad. Thanks for the overview. Appreciate it. All right. Okay, let's step into security incident response. Steve, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Yeah, sure. And just playing off a bit what we saw Angad doing there, we support integrations via the webhook connections that Angad demonstrated for security use cases across the platform. So Drew talked about compliance use cases, monitoring and analytics use cases, and then a Cloud SIEM use case. And so those webhook connections can apply in all three use cases. But what I want to talk to you about today and then demonstrate is a deeper integration we did between Sumo's Cloud SIEM Enterprise and ServiceNow Security Incident Response Module. So Drew, yeah, thank you. And really at the core of why we are doing this is accelerating incident response to insights that the Cloud SIEM Enterprise has generated. And I recall when I first met the security incident response team, one of the things they talked about is, hey, this is all about what now? So we know something malicious or suspicious has happened in the environment, and the ServiceNow security incident response module is intended to really facilitate acceleration of responding to that. So that's at the core of why we wanted to develop this integration, is help our customers really improve their mean time to respond, right? And do that in a way that's closed loop with the detection system itself, which in this case is Cloud SIEM Enterprise. And then additionally, right, if you're working the incident over in ServiceNow, you want to bring as much information into the analyst's fingertips as possible. And so that's a deep part of the integration as well, not only grabbing new insights as they emerge, but getting all of the information out of it. And I'll demonstrate that. So the security incident response module from ServiceNow recently introduced their MITRE ATT&CK card, and our Cloud SIEM Enterprise Insights and Signals have integrated MITRE ATT&CK framework as well. So we'll look in the demo at how those two things play together and really, again, put that contextual information about MITRE ATT&CK right into the analyst workflow. And then finally, like I was kind of highlighting, we do have the push mechanism that Angad just highlighted, and we will support that in security incident response integration as well. But the integration we've built is really more of a polling, fetching insights, as I often say, from the ServiceNow side into CSE. And so we'll see that in the demonstration. So, yeah, and at the end of the day, how it works is we have and we're going to show this, so I'm only going to be brief here. There's an integration that you'll find in the marketplace in ServiceNow that you'll download, install into your ServiceNow environment, and that'll go to work on fetching those insights and communicating back to CSE as processing continues. So maybe this is a good place right here to just jump into the demo. Drew, if you could stop sharing, I'll share. Thank you. Yeah.
You got it.
Thank you. Okay, so I will start the demo right from the get-go of finding that integration in the ServiceNow store. So here you see our integration, Sumo Logic integration for security incident response. If you would like this and you meet the prerequisites of having ServiceNow security incident response installed, then you can come out to the store and download it and start the experience that I'm going to show you now. So once you've done that, of course, you have that integration installed into your environment. You can explore that integration. What are the components of it? If you have a ServiceNow admin that is very expert in the environment, then they will want to know about all of this compilation of what does this integration comprise. And at times you may want to customize it, which is, again, another power of the ServiceNow platform is the customizability. So for example, if I was to show you this script, this is our basic core ingest script that's going to fetch those insights from CSE. And what I'm demonstrating here is the customizability of either turning that on or off with active, or controlling the frequency with which the polling runs. So that's one level of customization, very basic level of customization one can do with the integration. And then, as you can imagine, just like other security integrations that you might have brought into your environment, you will find the ability to configure that, connect it with your Cloud SIEM enterprise, provide the right credentials. There's even some ability to provide queries that will filter different insights that you're fetching. By default, it's just going to grab every open insight that it finds in CSE when it polls. So with that, let me jump quickly over to CSE and show you a little bit more about what I mean. So this is our Cloud SIEM enterprise heads-up display that an analyst can use to quickly visualize what are some actionable items in my environment today. And in Cloud SIEM Enterprise, we call those insights. As Drew hit on, insights are a cluster of signals or detections that we've made using our rules around a particular entity. And so today I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to explore this insight right here in a bit more detail. And what particularly I want to show here is when the ServiceNow integration fetched that insight, one of the bidirectional communications that it did is it let me know about that by adding a comment right in here. And the reason it's showing my name, of course, is I used my API keys and credentials. You would likely do that with more of an admin role. And you can see I've got all sorts of tags on this insight too. And I want to show you those because those are going to actually come over and be utilized in the ServiceNow environment. So let me go find this incident associated with Insight 3887 over in ServiceNow, and we'll take a little bit of a look at some of the things that happened inside the incident and how that translated once we fetched it. So here you go. I guess I jumped on that pretty quick, but here's my Security Incident Explorer providing me that kind of high level view. I'm going to drill in. I know I'm looking for that 3887. There it is right at the top. So let me pop into that incident and talk through a bit of what we did when we transformed our insight over to this. So in essentially at a high level, part of the job of the integration is to not only fetch that insight, but then utilize fields within that insight to populate the security incident in ServiceNow. And so you can see we've done some of that. We've picked an opening state. We've listed what is the insight number in it. We have all our description is really pretty much all the metadata inside it. And our short description then is really the title. And one of the things I want to talk through here, and of course, if folks are really familiar with ServiceNow, then they recognize that there's a lot of flexibility in the platform. And we chose in this initial integration, really based somewhat on the ServiceNow recommendation, to put most of the metadata information into the description and allow customers to leverage that information specific to their environment by extending the integration. So for example, we know that categories and subcategories can be very important to drive workflows for customers in ServiceNow, but it's difficult, if not impossible, to identify specific generic fields that would apply to that. So it is one point where customers may want to extend this integration. But out of the box, not only will you get all of that mapping of insight metadata, but then you'll start to see some of these tighter integrations. So in this case, this insight actually had a tag of a technique of a malicious file. So we went ahead and integrated that right into the MITRE attack card. And if you had an insight that had more techniques around it, it would certainly populate more information in this card. Another critical integration piece for us is that if you are familiar with Cloud SIEM Enterprise Insights, they're comprised of many signals, and inside those signals are many indicators of compromise that we want to surface. And as I mentioned in my intro slide, really put right at the analyst's fingertips while they're processing the incident. So we've pulled all of that out of the insight and populate the related or the IOC table associated with that incident. Now let's, so I am going to finalize this. So the idea is you're working this incident, and the current state of the integration is we will close the insight. So if I pop back over to my insight is actually just in a new status right now. But if I go ahead and I work this through its life cycle here, so let's go back to here, and we'll work this through our. So it closed it that way. So let's see, we should see it over here. I didn't mean to intend to close it in that manner, but it should have achieved the same effect for me on the insight. It may take a bit to do that. I also may want to jump into another one that should be the workflow. So let's watch this follow through. All right, well, I may have inadvertently done that to close that in a manner that didn't quite trick things. So let me actually go find another. This would be 3881. So let's go ahead and work this through its life cycle here. So you can't get it through until you're block some of the states. So apologies for running through this like this, but now let's go ahead and close it. And we'll update that. Yeah, this is better. Say we mitigated the threat. And let's go ahead and update. And that was probably a more proper closure for that. So now let's go find 3881. I can go browse all of my insights once. And actually we can see now, because I can't have closed in there. So we can see by default it did. So we got closed and resolved and closed the loop on that particular instance. So if I am using CSE to browse some of my insights and what happened to them, I would see that one was resolved from ServiceNow. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and end the demo, and I'll turn it back over to Drew to move forward. And of course, happy to take questions and answer any of the details. I guess one final thing I did want to mention is if you go out to the store site, there's plenty of videos both on Cloud SIEM and this integration that dive a little bit deeper. So thanks everyone for your time and attention.
Great, thanks, Steve. Yeah, nice demo, man. Appreciate it. All right, so let me go ahead and bring my slides back up here. All right. Okay, last but not least, Rishi. So I want to hand it over to Rishi to talk about our participation in the Service Graph Connector program and the new app that we've developed for that. So Rishi, take it away.
Sure, thanks so much, Drew. So with that, let's talk about the Sumo Logic Service Graph Connector that's part of the ServiceNow Service Graph Connector program. But first, before we go into the details, I just want to talk a little bit about what a configuration management database, or CMDB as it's commonly known, is. Right? So first and foremost, a CMDB enables configuration management, which is basically a process for ensuring that all the assets that you have that are required to deliver a given service are properly controlled, and accurate and reliable information about these are available. Right? Now, examples of these assets could be, as you see on the screen here, hardware, software, appliances, virtual machines, cloud services, and mobile devices. So maintaining this information about these assets is critical because, as we know, IT infrastructure is complex, and enterprises need a single place where they can keep track of all these disparate assets. So that's essentially what a CMDB is used for. So you go to the next slide, Drew. So now let's talk about a few examples of how the CMDB helps. So assets might be used across different departments in a company, So CMDB helps identify all these relationships. Secondly, we can use the CMDB to identify services associated with assets, so you can keep track of dependencies on a given asset. And then finally, when things go wrong, teams can identify if an outage is also applicable to other assets and prevent these other assets from being affected. So, and then finally, what I wanted to also say is security teams can also use the CMDB to map things like threats, incidents, and vulnerabilities to business services along with IT infrastructure. So at any point, you can identify the risk associated with a given service and its assets. Okay, so go to the next slide. So now that we've talked about what a CMDB does, let's discuss some of the challenges in keeping this information up to date. And first of all, it's really critical, given the examples I was talking about earlier, is it's critical that the CMDB is kept up to date with the latest information. If it doesn't have the accurate information, you can't use it effectively. So to do this, companies often use agents that extract data from third-party sources and then convert it to the format that CMDB needs. And as a result, you have the additional overhead of maintaining and installing and running these agents. Okay, so go to the next slide. So now ServiceNow has come up with this graph connector program that allows for third parties like Sumo Logic to develop and maintain their own connectors to the CMDB, right? And these connectors maintain assets in the CMDB based on the data that they already have. And for customers, the main benefit here is it reduces the risk and increases trust in these connectors, since they are completely validated by ServiceNow, and they are also delivered in a consistent manner through the ServiceNow store, similar to what Steve was showing earlier for the security incident response application. And for partners like us, we are able to better serve our customers to ensure their IT system of record is accurately maintained in the CMDB based on the data that we already have as an observability and security vendor. And we also have the added advantage of working closely with ServiceNow to develop these connectors. Okay, next slide. So let me explain a bit more about the Sumo Logic Service Graph Connector. So as part of our integrations that we already have with AWS and VMware, we have information about virtual machines like creations, deletions, start and shutdown events, and we're able to send all of this information in real time to the CMDB, right, through this graph connector. The benefit here for Sumo Logic customers is you don't have to maintain additional agents to keep this information up to date, and you can continue to use the CMDB for your ITSM and ITOM programs. And as we talked about earlier, this connector has been developed and validated by ServiceNow. All right, so now let's jump into how this is set up. Next slide. So firstly, you need to have the right plugins and apps configured in ServiceNow. I've listed all of them here. And then you need to install the Service Graph Connector as it's from the store, right? Once that's done in Sumo Logic, you've got to configure integrations with AWS and VMware if you already haven't done so. And then the next step here is to migrate historical data, right? So what you can do is all the data that's come into Sumo Logic from the past about AWS and VMware virtual machines, you can run our script to migrate all of that data, all that asset information to ServiceNow. And then finally, once that's done, you configure webhook connections in Sumo Logic that will send this data as it's coming in real time to the ServiceNow CMDB. This is done through webhook connections and scheduled searches that periodically send this data. All right. So that's it. So just wanted to call out these three tables in the CMDB updated with this by this integration. And you go to the next slide. And this is a quick snapshot of how these virtual machines are represented in the CMDB. All right. So that's what I had, Drew. Happy to take any questions.
Great, thanks, Rishi. And the Service Graph connector available in the App Store, the ServiceNow store, alongside the security incident response integration as well.
Yep.
Correct.
Yep, that's right.
Okay. Let me take a look here. See if we have any questions here. Okay, yeah. So let's see. I've got so for CMDB, can you also populate CMD with Azure and GCP virtual machine data?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's something that we're working on, and it's on the roadmap, and that's something that can easily be done once, given that we already have the infrastructure to support additional virtual machines. So that's something that's on the roadmap and it's coming.
Okay. And then what about the other way around? Are you able to import data from CMDB back into Sumo?
So that's another thing. That's a great question. That's another piece that's another product feature that's on the roadmap. And thanks to this graph connector, we can take advantage of getting that information. And most customers, just to give you a quick insight into why this is even required, most customers, what they want to do is get the asset information into Sumo Logic so they can make correlations in real time with security events and assets. So for example, if an asset belongs to a given a department, they can make that correlation within Sumo Logic and alert on multiple vulnerabilities or threats to that asset, to that department. Right. So that's the use case, and that's something that is also on our roadmap.
Okay. And there's another question from the group on end user devices. So can CMDB integrate with Microsoft Intune? And gosh, I always pronounce that Jamf, but now with the capital F, I think it's JAMF maybe for Macs.
Yeah, so with Sumo Logic, we don't have that integration just yet. Yeah, that's not something that I necessarily have an answer for, but yeah, I'm pretty sure. If the question is regarding populating CMDB via Sumo Logic with Intune and JAMF, I don't have an answer for you right now, but I'm sure it's just a matter of getting the data into Sumo Logic and then writing the searches that we've already following the same model that we've done with AWS and VMware to populate CMDB with this information as well. So it's really about just making sure that the data can come into Sumo Logic.
Got it. Thanks, Rishi.
Sure.
All right, let's see. Anything else that I missed? I think we're good. Yeah, I think we're good. So we'll go ahead and wrap here. Again, just wanted to thank the product folks for joining today. Angad, Steve, and Rishi, thanks again for your time and walking us through these integrations. Appreciate it. And for everyone that joined the call or again is watching us on demand, thanks for tuning in and have a good day. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.